Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to the weekend edition of What's Happening in Space. Our first story is Asteroid 2026 JH2 makes a close flyby of Earth. Astronomers around the world are closely monitoring a newly discovered asteroid known as 2026 JH2, which is set to make an unusually close pass-by of Earth on May 18th, or May 19th here in the Southern Hemisphere. NASA says the asteroid will pass within approximately 56,000 miles, or about 90,000 kilometres from Earth, placing it well inside the orbit of the Moon and even closer to some satellites. The asteroid was first discovered on May the 10th by Mount Lemmon Survey in Arizona, one of the world's leading asteroid detection programs. The object was detected only days before its close approach, which is one reason the flyby has attracted so much global attention. Scientists estimate the asteroid measures between 30 and 60 metres across, roughly the size of a large office building. While experts stress there is absolutely no danger of impact, the close approach highlights one of the biggest challenges facing astronomers today: detecting potentially dangerous near-Earth objects early enough to respond if a real threat is ever identified. NASA and observatories around the world are now using radar and high-powered telescopes to study the asteroid's shape, spin, and composition. Researchers hope the data gathered during the flyby will help improve future asteroid tracking systems and give scientists more insight into objects that regularly pass through Earth's cosmic neighbourhood. Yeah, so there is some uh, disagreement on the size. It's been rated to anything between 15 to 60 metres sort of thing. So, like I said, they haven't had many observations on it, so they don't really know. Now, as far as what they're going to do about a asteroid that may potentially impact Earth, say Apophis, in a couple of years, bugger all, really. Like, what can they do? We've all seen the movies. We all know how that ends. You need a pretty big major Hollywood star to go up there and sort that shit out. And I just can't see anyone doing it at the moment. So all we can do is hope that they're going past, because if they're coming straight at us, I think we're pretty stuffed. Now, as a astrophotographer myself, I actually like to track asteroids. I've discovered a couple, which is pretty cool. And I can tell you now that unless they get quite a few observations of an object, trying to pinpoint where its trajectory is pretty daunting. Like, I've looked on the Minor Planet Center a few times myself to track various objects, and the ones that have just been discovered, most of the time they're not even close. They're quite a way out with the trajectory. So this one only been discovered 6 days ago. It couldn't have had too many observations on it. So it will be interesting to see how close they are in their predictions. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one myself. Of course, it's going to be cloudy next week, or I'd get the telescope out and see if I could actually get some images of it. But, maybe the weather will change, but at the moment it's not looking good for me. But if you can, please go ahead, see if you can get some tracking information on it. Okay, so story number 2. China accelerates plans for crewed moon missions. China is rapidly expanding its lunar exploration program, with major new developments intensifying what many analysts now describe as a modern space race between China and the United States. Chinese space officials recently confirmed successful progress on several critical technologies needed for future crewed missions, including testing of the new Mengjiao spacecraft and components of the powerful Long March 10A lunar rocket system. The Mengjiao spacecraft is designed to carry Chinese astronauts beyond Earth orbit and eventually transport crews to lunar orbit and the moon's surface. Meanwhile, the Long March 10A rocket is being developed to launch heavy payloads and lunar landers deep in space. China has publicly stated its goal of landing astronauts before 2030. Officials have also outlined long-term plans for a permanent scientific research base near the moon's south pole. an area believed to contain valuable water ice deposits that could support future human settlements and fuel production. The rapid pace of China's program is placing increased pressure on NASA's Artemis mission, which aimed to return American astronauts to the moon later this decade. Experts say the moon is quickly becoming the center of a new geopolitical and technological competition, focused not only on exploration, but also on future control of lunar resources and infrastructure. Now, we touched on this yesterday, my belief that it's just going to be a lunar land grab rather than any real exploration. Obviously, there'll be exploration involved, but I don't think that adding to the science that we already know about the moon is going to be the top consideration. I think it really is more about grabbing the resources. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. And story 3, this one is close to my heart and every other astrophotographer out there because it's going to stuff the sky even more. Cowboy Space files plans for massive orbital AI satellite network. Startup company Cowboy Space Corporation is making headlines after filing plans with the United States Federal Communications Commission for a gigantic constellation of up to 20,000 satellites designed to operate as orbital AI data centers. The company, founded by Robinhood co-founder Baiju Bat, I think I pronounced that right, I probably didn't, says the proposed network, known as Stampede, would use solar-powered satellites in low Earth orbit to run artificial intelligence computing systems directly in space. Instead of building enormous data centers on Earth, Cowboy Space wants to move computing infrastructure into orbit where solar energy is nearly continuous. The proposal comes as the AI industry faces growing pressure from power shortages and overloading electrical grids on Earth. Company officials argue that future AI systems may require more electricity than terrestrial infrastructure can currently support. Cowboy Space recently raised $275 million in funding and is also developing a unique rocket system where the rocket's upper stage would itself become part of the orbital computing platform once in space. If approved, the project could become one of the largest satellite constellations ever proposed and may signal the beginning of a new era where artificial intelligence infrastructure expands beyond Earth. However, experts say the proposal also raises major concerns about orbital congestion, space debris, and how thousands of additional satellites could affect the future of low Earth orbit. Not to mention the fact that it's just going to add to the, you already can't take an image of the sky without having lots of satellites going through. Thankfully, the stacking software can remove most of the satellite trails, but it's just getting to ridiculous proportions with Starlink, and there's lots of other ones up there as well that are planned. As far as AI data centers in space goes, whether this company makes it or dies isn't really going to be the issue, because I believe they will eventually succeed. For them, it's a good idea to put them in space. Most of the electricity on Earth is used for cooling. Obviously, if you're in space, you haven't got an issue with cooling, so that just does away with that. Obviously, there's there's no land up there as such. You don't need to buy any of that. You just need to invest in the actual system itself. Put it on one of Elon's rockets, I guess, and send it up there, and bam, bingo, you've got yourself a data center in space. So yeah, whether that happens soon or later, I believe myself that it will eventually happen. So that's another one to look out for. So I can see my favourite hobby just dying in the arse. Okay, well, I guess we might wrap it up there. So thanks very much for watching. This is the second episode of What's Happening in Space. I know it's pretty rough at the moment, but hopefully with a bit of practice, we'll get it to a stage where it's actually worth viewing. So thank you very much. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next show.